Welcome to the Silverstone Technology Cluster's Ask the Expert podcast. I'm Jeannie, your host. The mission of the STC is to support advanced engineering, electronics and software businesses, and we're always keen to share industry knowledge and insights. In each podcast episode, we sit down with seasoned professionals and industry leaders to uncover valuable knowledge, share real-world experiences, and explore smart strategies for navigating the challenges of modern business in advanced engineering. This episode is proudly sponsored by Cottons Group, a leading firm of chartered accountants and business advisors with offices in Northampton, Rugby, Daventry and London. Hello, today I'm joined by Jason Lancaster from Northampton College. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. Can you just tell me a little bit of background on you, how you got to where you are, your journey, and a little bit about the college?
Yep, so I'm Principal and CEO at Northampton College. I've worked around the sector, the FE sector, for a long time now. I've done a lot of consultancy, but more recently I've been a deputy principal at Stoke-on-Trent College and a couple of other places as well. So it's been a bit of a journey, but I've landed back at Northampton College, having been there a little while ago as well.
Okay, fantastic. So you talked about FE partnerships, the FE. What am I trying to say? What are FE partnerships? Can you just explain that to me?
Yeah, so I think increasingly we're really keen to work with a whole range of partners to just make the courses better, to meet their needs better, and to get students ready for careers where they're more quickly valuable to their employers. So I think through a range of ways it benefits all parties, and it's just finding ways of working together, isn't it? So that's employers, it's local bodies like the Chambers of Commerce and some of those people, other colleges and other education providers, universities, a whole lot really.
Okay, so you're trying to engage across industry, government, education, everything like that. Why should employers get involved? What's their role in this?
So the key thing, well, I think there's several strands really. So the first one is that, first of all, FE is one of the biggest trainers of the workforce, the adult workforce. So through apprenticeships, through adult upskilling, through bespoke training as well, we can provide a range of skills development that meets employers' needs and help them to be more productive and more innovative. But in doing that, we can also benefit other students as well. So we have 5,000 full-time students, a few more than that. That's a whole load of workforce that's coming out every year, and actually getting those students to be ready to go into whatever the job role is, but getting them with the technical skills, but also the personal and social skills to make them really effective. We can do that together. So I think it's really important that FE doesn't become an island and sort of lose sight of what latest needs are, but equally employers can come and find out how young people are at the moment, what they're going to get, and help shape what the courses are that they're doing before they come to them.
So from what I understand, it's not a one size fits all.
No.
You tailor these packages to specific employers and industry. What does that look like? How does that process work?
So, I mean, the key thing is communication. So we need to get in the room with the employers and talk through what we're both looking for. And I think the key thing is that if each of us is trying to get something that benefits us in the long term, then we'll be happy, won't we? So for me, that's about employers might want to take part in work placements, they might want to take part in shorter work experience stints. In some of those cases, there's limited immediate benefit, but the longer term benefit is you might see some talent that you want to say, oh, actually, I'll perhaps have a look at that student in a year's time. Further down the line, it might be around designing an apprenticeship program together. So, I don't know, if you've got some production needs and you're looking for upskilling in that area, we can look at students who can come in, learn on the job, and actually learning on the job is a great way of really developing the skills and honing them in a particular way for your company and as part of your pipeline development. And then another example might be thinking about course development and what's in a course. So, for example, we've worked with logistic companies to modify some of our business courses to have a logistics theme. So actually they'll do activities around logistics, they'll pick units that link to supply chain planning and some of those things. So students are getting a richer understanding of that industry. It promotes the industry more generally. But again, also you're getting students who are thinking, oh, actually, that's a career for me. So you're thinking about that progression route.
Yeah, and I think it's great that students are coming out with real life skills that they can use and straight away put into action. You talked about communication.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing with anything, I think. Is that where these partnerships generally fall over? Is that where the bumps are?
I think honesty is always the key thing for me. So I think a maxim that I have, and I don't claim that I always manage it 100%, is I'm not going to promise anything I won't do. So I think on both sides, it's really important that we come in understanding where our red lines are, I think, and what we want to do and what we don't want to do. So I think honesty is so crucial. And so for me, it is, we can come with a menu and it's perfectly fine for an employee to say, well, I don't want that. But this, I think we've got something to work on. And actually also, what I'm finding in my business is I've got this problem. Can you help with that? Now, we may or may not be able to, but at least we can try, can't we? And so I think building that partnership over time, building that trust over time, probably starting with small things and building up, I think is really important, because then you get confidence in each other. And then later on, if something does go pear-shaped, you can work on that together and it's not a big thing. But if your first experience is negative, then sometimes the partnerships don't go any further.
Yeah, and I think also what you've mentioned is just managing expectations, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Knowing what you can do, what you're trying to do, and maybe what's achievable.
And I think both sides of that conversation have to have a degree of confidence. So there'll be things that we can't do, and I'd much rather just say, we can't do that, but actually I can refer you to X who probably can help you with that. But that does take a bit of confidence, and I suppose, again, building up that approach is really important, but a bit tricky probably.
Yeah, okay. And you've got some new opportunities coming up the pipeline. Can you tell me about some of the new opportunities you've got coming up for employers?
Yeah, so as well as some of the apprenticeships, we are constantly looking to develop in-course input. So whether that's shaping the content of the curriculum, coming in and running some live projects with our students. That's quite exciting that you get students working on real life challenges and you can be part of that journey and see how they progress. What we often find is if employers spend that time, they might well spot some talent that they want to have conversations with about, okay, well, when you finish this course, come and have a chat to us. And we do find that works quite a lot. T-level programs, so T-levels are a big chunky vocational level 3 program, so that's equivalent to an A-level program, but much more vocationally specific. So we run those in digital accounting, in the healthcare sector and engineering, in loads of sectors. Well, they have a requirement for a big chunky work experience. So you'll have a student coming to you a day a week pretty much for the whole course. Well, you get to know them that way. You get to shape them a little bit. And so I think that's something as well. But I'm also mindful that it's the other way around as well. And so if employers have got skills needs, or they see AI, for example, coming down the track at them, and it's coming fast, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Then actually we might be able to help with that. Or if we can't, then again, we've got partnerships we might be able to link into.
And it's always continuously improving what you're doing to make sure that you're keeping up with things like AI and needs in the industries.
And we need that because the qualifications don't always move as quickly. So, I did a BTEC in engineering some time ago now. But actually the content of the new ones, it's a bit different, but it's not that different. So it's the stuff we do around it, which is where you really get to shape that. And what we are finding, I think it's always been the case, but particularly post-pandemic, is that actually those sort of more personal, we used to call them soft skills, but I don't think they're soft skills at all. The core skills like curiosity, problem solving, communication skills we've talked about a little bit. All of those things are really important for employers. And I always say to students, the qualification gets you the interview, it doesn't get you the job. So help us to shape the stuff that employers want that gets them the job is a really key thing for me.
Yeah, I think because you're trying to turn out professionals, but you're also trying to turn out well-rounded individuals, aren't you?
But bear in mind that we work with adults as well, but our 5,000 younger students, they're 16 when they come to us. Yeah. There's a lot of growing up to happen in that time. And so we get this a really formative time when you can really help to shape them. But let's shape them in the right direction. And the big thing that I find is confidence as the challenge. They really struggle with that. And so getting them into a space where they are confident but not with a misplaced confidence, it's a bit of a tricky balance there.
I think potentially post-COVID as well, you have
Definitely.
A lot of issues. We've got social anxiety and confidence, which are a huge problem. And probably really the young people that are coming up now, you would be seeing sort of the direct result of that. Yeah,
it's really interesting that I think in some ways they've become much more independent, so there's positives in there as well. Yeah. But I think it's, ours is a big college, so when they first walk in, it's a bit scary, and I think that's more so now post-COVID. I speak to either me or my senior team speak to all the new students coming in, and one message I always say is that you're not just the employees of the future. Some of you are the leaders of the future. They always look shocked when I say that, but actually they are in the room, but they don't come with that confidence level. And we do have some curriculum areas, so some students have not done well at school, but that's because they didn't find their niche. They didn't find the thing they were good at. When we find that, it can really unlock them, but they don't come with a great lot of confidence if they've had a tough time at school.
Yeah, so you've talked about the 5,000 students that you've got, and we all know it's a bit of an ongoing issue. How do you keep them engaged? How do you engage with those young people and get them interested in the industry and in their future? Like you said, they're the leaders of tomorrow, and they don't know it yet. So
No.
how do you bring that out?
I mean, I hope, and I don't claim that we do this every single day of the week, but I hope it's exceptional teaching. And so it is getting students out of their comfort zone, doing stuff they didn't think they had the capability of doing, and then showing them that they can. I think that's the win, really. And we do that with a range of stuff. So, it might be maths and English, which can be a bit dry, although I used to be a maths teacher, so I don't think so. But it could be a particular subject area, but actually just getting them to do stuff, getting them to see the talent that they've got. But I think it's really important to get them out and see the world, because a lot of them haven't done that. So they've not been in the workplace. They don't understand what employers expect or what the benefits of being in the workplace are. They don't always see how they're going to fit into that. So I think all those opportunities to get them out to see that and to do real life stuff, it really makes a big difference to them.
And have them engaging with employers when they come in as well.
Yeah, and we run various employer events, and a lot of our students are quite shy. But if we can get them over that barrier and get them having conversations, actually they do start to come out of the shells. And we do often find actually that students who perhaps haven't had a clear sort of feel for their direction, once they've perhaps been on work placement, it unlocks something. And they just find that confidence, and they find that, oh yeah, I want to do this now. I really like that. Sometimes what they learn from work placement is, I definitely don't want to do that. But that's a good thing.
Good too.
It's a great thing.
Absolutely.
But I think if they can find the thing that, I think I do want to do that, that really tend to fly after that.
Well, I mean, they are exceptional. I've been over to the college. You held one of our SIG events for us, and I know that the catering is done by the students.
Yes.
And that's great to build their confidence and gets them some actual hands-on experience, which is great.
Yeah. So, and I mean, there's loads of examples, but the ones we probably always wheel out are our construction team do work at Delapre Abbey and in some of the parks. They've refurbished the aviaries in Abington Park, for example. But getting them out into the community, it really stitches them into their own town as well, which I think is great. We have performing arts students who perform at all sorts of events and sort of rock up at various award ceremonies and do a great performance. It's fantastic. And even down to actually our music students, their end of year gig is in the Roadmender in town, which is a fantastic opportunity to be in a real working live venue in that whole space, working with professionals, all of that stuff. It really helps.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. And so how do employers get involved? What's the process? I'm sure you're making it as easy as possible.
Well,
how easy is it?
Well, employers ought to tell us, I guess. But but I think we through our website, there's a way to get in touch with us. We have our employer-facing staff, and they will then link to the relevant parts of the college. So whether that's work placements, apprenticeships, or some of the other things we've talked about, they'll help us to make those links and just tie it together.
Okay, and you're developing new programs all the time.
Yeah.
You're talking about your T-levels, everything like that. How is that moving on with the industry? How are the qualifications changing?
Yeah.
And what feedback are you taking to help build those?
So I think in terms of the qualifications that the sector uses, so by the sector I mean the colleges, there's quite a lot of change at the moment. So we have A-level provision, which has been long-standing and hasn't changed much. The content changes a bit, but it's fundamentally what it is. T-levels, as I say, are reasonably new, perhaps for the last 4 or 5 years. They are a big, chunky, 5-day-a-week programme in a particular subject area, so it's quite specific and narrow, but the depth of them is really great. We have things called BTECs and similar things, which are sort of broader vocational programmes, but there's still more change coming through from the government around these things as well. So we have to obviously respond to government policy. The key thing for me is that we use the structures available to us, but actually we're talking to employers about, well, actually, how does this fit with what you want? What's missing? What should we prioritise or deprioritise? So those conversations with employers who want to help us shape how we deliver those, I think those are really important. So that's all for younger students. We also obviously have adult programs as well. So there's a lot of basic maths, English and digital skills to get people back ready for the workplace. As well as some particular pathways around things like accounting or engineering. There's loads of other routes as well. But with those is where the demand is. And so where either adults are coming in and with a particular need, or where there's an industry that's crying out for a particular a particular role, then we can put something in place. But with all of these things, it's matching up that supply and demand, isn't it?
Of course. And we are trying to bridge that skills gap. And I know
Yeah.
that there's a lot of focus around STEM with young kids
Yeah.
and primary schools.
Yes.
And I suppose you're trying to bridge the skills gap now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we take, the school through schools. What we find is that young people have got a good general breadth of education. They do have some STEM understanding, but we get into the nitty gritty of it. So as I say, if you do an engineering program at a college, then you are working on lathes, you're working on, automated machining tools and all of these things. So it takes it to the next level and just gets you that bit closer to the workplace.
And this just come to me. What's the pathway? So I know you get students come to you.
Yeah.
And they go from you, they go to apprenticeships, they go into industry. Do they go on to universities as well?
All of that. So, and I think the key thing is for each student is helping them to find the right pathway for them. So, I think apprenticeships are a great route. Again, they'll have come to us, they'll have done some more specific, I keep falling to engineering because it's my own discipline, but they'll have done some specific skills in whichever program that they're doing. But they can then go and get themselves a job, so they're employed at that stage. They're earning as they're learning, they get to do that and hopefully develop that into a career. Our expectation is an apprentice is taken on at the end as a full-time member of staff, and they're in that workforce. So it's a great route for them. But as you say, then some students go straight into great jobs. That's why the placements are really important, I think. And then we do have a lot of students who go to university and take their studies up to the high level there. We also have HNC, HND type provision in the college as well. So we'll be supporting them up to that sort of technical higher level without going all the way to level 6.
Okay. So there's a lot going on over there.
There is, yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to describe a college because they do a lot. So we deal with students who are high flyers and know what they want. We deal with students who didn't do so well at school and need a bit of help, and everything in between. So it's quite busy.
No, I think particularly it's so good the way that you talk about it and the way that you focus on these young people and help them find their way.
Yeah.
I think that's so important now because we're at a point where there's so much that you can do. The world's so big. There's so many job opportunities and they're changing every single day with AI, like you said, and all of these different things that are coming up. It's scary for them, and they're young and they're going out there and they don't really know what they want, and to have a supportive community around them who can help and talk to them and help them understand what they're good at and what they enjoy doing, most importantly.
Yeah, I think it's a real challenge because I think they often think that, and GCSEs are obviously important, but they often think that GCSEs are the be-all and end-all, and if it doesn't go to plan, then that's the end of the world.
But that's what they're told at school,
of
isn't
course
it?
It is.
They're told this is the most important thing you will ever do in your life.
And to be fair, I'm probably telling them that their course with us is probably pretty important. I'm probably telling them that as well. But actually, the key thing is they do something they love, because then you'll thrive at it. You learn to be confident. You learn to be adaptable. That adaptability is one of the key skills going forward, I think, because careers aren't 40 years of X anymore. Careers are moving around, doing different things. And I think preparing them for that is building that resilience through exposure to things they haven't done before in a range of ways. And so one thing I always say when on open evenings is parents will come and sort of, they don't know whether to do this or that. So, well, which do you prefer more? Because actually do that one. It'll be fine. People find their way. But if it's a slog every day to come in, and if you're hating it, you're just going to do less well. So find something you're good at, do the thing that you love, and then the rest tends to work out. And
I think focusing on those transferable skills is so important, because people's career progression now it's so fluid, and you jump between industry, you jump between careers, but those core skills are what's really important, because you can't teach those as such.
Well, you just need to practice them, don't you? Yeah. And I think employers increasingly tell us that, they can do the thing, but they can't work in a team, or they can't do this. And actually, so let's solve that. That's something we can easily do. And all of that is just putting people in a position of trying something they haven't done and messing it up the first couple of times and then becoming good at it. That's how we all did it. So it's not magic, but we've got to design those in, because I think that if you don't consciously design those in, then that's something you have to do later. And if I think back to my career, I probably didn't have confidence for quite a long time. But if we can get that a couple of years earlier, then they're in a better position, aren't they?
Yeah, pick them up when they don't know what they need. Yeah. Help them find out what they need, and you're turning them out into the world as quite well-rounded young people, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
I mean, the way you talk about it, it sounds like the future's very bright.
Yeah, I think so. I have to say that, it's very tempting, and I think, the older that you get, you always you often end up seeing the downsides of the people going through. They're so adaptable. Their ability to multitask and to bring in different sources of information and to synthesize that together, it's light years ahead of like when I was a bit younger. So I think that you've got to look at the strengths they've got and then build on those. That's the key thing for me.
Every generation's so different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this young generation now, the skills that they have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And you think about even the younger ones coming up now through primary school.
Absolutely.
By the time they get to the age where they're with you at a college, the skills that they're going to have completely different again.
Yeah, and so we work with the strengths that they've got, and we can be amazed with those, and then we work on the deficits and help them to fill them. That's the job, really.
Yeah, I think the message now is you don't have to go into one of these set career paths.
No, I think there's there will be people who have a career for life, but that's a very minority exercise now. I think the ability to move around, do different things, do several things at once, all of that is really important, I think.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about young people, but the other thing I'm really interested in is the upskilling and the adult students that you have, because I know that you have the core subjects for them, but do you have more focused subjects? Because like you said, let's talk about engineering, for example, because that's the biggest industry that we talk about. You have that's constantly changing. Yeah. There's new technologies coming in. Yeah. How do you provide support to maybe employers or individuals who need to upskill?
Yeah. So first thing to say is that Northamptonshire in particular is a really interesting demographic for the adult skills. So employment is quite high, but wages are relatively low compared to the national picture, and that's representative of a smaller proportion of the adult population with higher level qualifications. So there's plenty of jobs, but they're not all the best jobs, and there's a real thing, I think, about how we create a talent pool so that we get more innovative and high value jobs in the area. And obviously in things like Silverstone, we've got loads of them, but we need more of them. So I think there's quite a significant challenge for the area about how we do that. Part of it is you have to get the basic skills in place as well. So as I say, we have our maths, English and digital skills type routes, and we're not the only ones doing that. But that is really important, because without those skills, you can't move on. But when you get to the specific skills, through a mix of apprenticeships, and so apprenticeships are just as much for adults as they are for younger people, and particularly higher level apprenticeships. So maybe people who've done their, I'm going to use old terminology now, but their national certificate in engineering in the old days, who are ready for their next step towards higher level study. There's routes for those both employed and also as a part-time piece of work. I think we sort of slightly lost a bit of the culture of night school, but we need it back. Coming in the evening,
definitely.
Doing your HNC over a couple of years, I think that's a good thing to do. But we offer those routes, and we're not the only ones, again, who offer those routes. But I think people who have perhaps spent a bit of time, perhaps got some family stuff that they need to do, and then get to think, actually, I want to do a bit more, that's a great way of increasing their career opportunities, but also increasing the skills pool for employers.
Because you do get a lot of people who get to a certain age and they've had children, they've come back maybe, particularly women after maternity leave, and they just go back into their old job because they think that's all they can do. Yeah. So I think creating the belief and the knowledge out there that actually there are other opportunities, and you can go back to school in the evenings.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you think about some of the health services crying out for people in a whole range of disciplines, whether that's sort of frontline medicine through to technology, all of that. Education, there's always a massive demand. And as I say, some of the very specialist companies like engineering, there is a tradition of upskilling in the workplace and in the role. And there's ways of doing that now that perhaps weren't there before. So the adult apprenticeship type route didn't used to be there, but actually you can come to college a day a week or equivalent of, do your studies, be applying that in the workplace, and at the end of that, you come out with hopefully a better job and a bit more money in your pockets.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even know that adult apprenticeships were a thing.
There you go. No, they definitely are.
I've learned something new today.
Yeah.
So what kind of takeaway do you want to give people today? What's the main message you want to leave everyone with?
Well, I think it's about the opportunity. So I think that, and as I say, I'm here from Northampton College, but I'm not just representing Northampton College. We want to work with employers. We want to work with other sector partners to make our programs as relevant as possible, because actually that benefits the economy and it benefits those employers. And I think for young people or adults listening who are thinking, actually, maybe I do want to go and learn a bit more, go and speak to your local college. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, and there's plenty of them around.
There is.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Jason. It's been really great.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been really good, and I've learnt so much.
Good.
And maybe looking into adult apprenticeships.
Well, we'll get you signed up.
Thanks again for coming.
Thanks ever so much.
Cheers. That's it for this episode of Ask the Expert. Thank you so much for listening or watching. We hope you picked up some useful insights and inspiration along the way. If you enjoyed the conversation, please give us a like, share or rating on the platform you're using. Please follow Silverstone Technology Cluster on LinkedIn and subscribe to the STC YouTube channel or our podcast on Spotify or Apple, so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, a particular topic or a guest you'd love to hear from, please drop me an email to Jeannie@silverstonetechnologycluster.com. Bye for now.